Well, hello everyone again. This is Steve Wolf, and with another exciting podcast of Steve's Stock Stories. I'm here with my partner Jocelyn Magana. Say hello, Jocelyn.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
All right. And this week we can really hear you because you're loud and clear throughout that microphone. Hey, today we're going to talk a little bit about finding stocks. How do you do that? I get this question a lot. How do you find some of these stocks? Well, of course, these are growth stocks. I mean, we can all find the Procter & Gamble's and the Kimberly-Clark's and those kind of companies and Johnson & Johnson. But when you're looking for some growth stocks, and let me just define growth, meaning that really you're trying to find companies that are growing at a faster rate than either others in their industry or perhaps the general market. And sometimes I've come up with these gems. Matter of fact, one of them I've come up with over the last year and a half is a company called Goosehead Insurance. I'm sure nobody has heard about Goosehead Insurance, but I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I came up with that. But by the way, I just want to let you know if you want to know about some investing secrets, I put something together in writing called Investing Secrets Every Investor Needs to Know, and you can find that at www.financialcarlsbad.com/investing secrets. So let's say that again, www.financialcarlsbad with a C.com/investing secrets, and it's going to tell you some of the things we're going to talk about here today. But one of the things that I look for is some companies that are going to be the next maybe Amazons or the next Apples or something. Sometimes they don't get that big, but you want to get them when they start early. So let's talk a little bit about Goosehead Insurance. How did I find out about that? It's interesting because what I was looking at was I was looking at my insurance costs for my house, for my car, my property and casualty insurance costs. And I started thinking, I'm really paying a lot, and I'm not going to tell you who the company I was with, but I can just tell you that they say something like we've seen a few things or something. We've been there a few times or we've seen a few things. So, and at any rate, I'm sure you know who the company is. I would sing their little jingle, but I don't know if I want to subject everybody to that. Do you know who I'm talking about yet, Jocelyn?
No, I know, and I just know the Mayhem guy.
No, it's not the Mayhem guy. It's the other guy where he says, "What is this?" I think the saying.
You're in good hands. Is that?
No,
is that
that's another one. It's we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two.
Oh, I don't even know that commercial.
Oh yeah, you do it. Dun dun dun. That's their thing. Anyway, let's move on. So I'm looking at my insurance and I'm thinking, God, I'm paying a lot of money here for insurance. I think more than I should be paying. So it so happened that Catherine Magana, my business partner, and so happened to be Jocelyn's wife, was telling me that she was talking to someone from a company called Goosehead Insurance. I'm thinking, Goosehead Insurance, the only goose thing I knew of was Goose Island Beer. While I was in Chicago, and I don't know if this is a podcast, but we always video it, and for those people who can see what I'm doing, I'm holding the 16-inch softball, which is really a Chicago deal. So all you Chicagoans, you'll know what this is. This is a clincher. Anyway, so we're talking about. I was talking about Goose Island Beer, but let's talk about Goosehead Insurance.
Goose Island Beer versus
Anyway, so Catherine's telling me that this person is giving her quotes that are way less than what I'm paying. So I said, oh, come on, insurance is insurance. So anyway, she gets done with her and I said, okay, to the agent, I said, come on in here. I want to talk to you a little bit. So she starts telling me what Goosehead Insurance is. And basically, Goosehead Insurance is a franchise. And they do things a little bit differently. So they're kind of disrupting the insurance business. And part of their disruption is that most insurance agents, property and casualty, they will sell you the policy, and then when you have an issue with it, they're going to come out to wherever the accident is or whatever the insurance issue is, and they're going to take a look at it. So and then they have to deal with the problem. Well, apparently the way that Goosehead works is that for the agents, really all they have to do is sell you the policies, and they have a service department that takes care of all the other stuff. And for those people who are agents that don't want to mess with that back office stuff, this is a godsend for them. So I said, okay. So the next thing I said to her, okay, well, give me some insurance quotes and what I'm doing. So she came back and she said, she gave me the quotes, and they were much less than what I was paying with, the other company. Dun, 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 dun. Yes.
I'm getting you now. Yeah. I think I got it now.
Okay, but I won't say who they are. At any rate, so she gave me the quotes, and they were a lot less. And I'm thinking, these are high quality insurance companies she's got me with because they're an agency. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going with you. Well, I'm thinking if Catherine did and I did, and it was pretty no brainer, I'm thinking all I've got to do is get the word out. And number one, people want to be there with their franchises. And number two, of course, the companies their clients are going to want to be with that company because it's cheaper. Well, so I looked into their company. All right, Goosehead Insurance. Now it was hard to find because it's a small company. It's a kind of a little bit of a startup. I don't know how long they've been here. Not that long, but they're growing, and they were growing like crazy. And the franchises were going out the door, and this is before COVID happened. This is probably about maybe a year and a half or so, maybe 2 years ago. And so I did my homework. And when I finally got done with doing all the things that I do to look up a company, I said, this would make a great addition to one of my portfolios. I do two portfolios. One is my caveman portfolio, which I don't know if we've talked about before.
Yeah, I don't think we brought up the caveman before.
No, yeah, and your wife was the one that named it Caveman. And the Caveman portfolio basically it's a really concentrated portfolio. There's only, at the time, there was only about 6 or 7 stocks. I've actually got it up to about 10, which is probably about as much as I want to have. And then I had what we just call a growth portfolio, where there's maybe about 26 to 30 stocks in that portfolio. But I thought this would be good for both. So long story short, I guess I did that. I put it in both. Now, look, I bought this. It was way down. It's probably 3 or 4 times what it was back then. So as I always tell you, these aren't stock tips for you. These are not things, go out and buy Goosehead. If you do your research and all that and you decide, hey, that's good, or you talk to your advisor or whoever and they say, hey, that's a great company, fine, but don't do it just because of this. That's not the purpose of this. But anyway, the stock has just done tremendously. So it gives you an idea of really, how do you find these things? Sometimes they just drop in your lap. All right. But you can do some research and try to find some, some of the things you could do, take a look at your credit card bill, and say, what are some of the things that I'm paying consistently? Maybe a few years ago, you might have said, I never was using Amazon before, but now I am. And I'll bet a lot of other people are doing that too. So that's where maybe you can start. I talked to another person who all of a sudden said that they were going out to eat, and this was prior to COVID again, but they were going out to eat a lot to Chipotle. And I'm thinking, okay, I didn't really know much about Chipotle, and I ended up not buying it, but they said that they were doing it, and a lot of their friends were doing it, and I kind of wish I did because Chipotle has been a big winner.
I ate a lot of Chipotle.
Yeah, so why didn't you buy the stock?
I was worried when they started poisoning people, but they've gotten past that.
Well, little things like that. Actually, it would have been a really good buy, and if you had bought it right after that, because it took them about a year and a half to fix the issues. But since then, the stock has just gone straight up.
Yeah. No, they've done really well. A couple things. I remember they tried to. They did their best to be. What do they call that? They stopped selling. They stopped selling pork. And they stopped selling carnitas. So they kind of lost me there. And then they started poisoning people. And so
I don't think they were doing that on purpose.
No, of course not on purpose. But it was a repeat thing. But they have come back quite well. And honestly, I still go there. So, I take my chances.
And you're still here.
So far, so good.
How's the stomach is okay? And
I got kind of an iron gut, so,
All right. But at any rate, so what he was noticing that he and his friends were going out there a lot, and then of course did his homework and decided that that would be a good one to buy, and of course it was. So anyway, that's one way you can find stocks like that is just go through the things that you do on a daily basis, and then sometimes it's just kind of common sense. When streaming video was really starting to take off with Netflix. And I have to tell you, I miss Netflix. How I missed it, I'm not sure.
I got Netflix.
And well, good for you. And I'm glad you did, actually. But when that started happening, I was thinking, okay, a lot of people are doing this, and a lot of people are getting away from the normal, I don't know, cable or regular TV or whatever you call it.
Yeah, so many people are unplugging now.
Right. But this was
way early.
right. So Amazon went, and I didn't invest in Amazon because they never made money, even though everybody was using them. I'm thinking, well, until they can figure out how to make money, why would I buy them? All right. But when they actually started Prime, do you remember that? I think it was.
I didn't even know early on that Prime was part of my Amazon. No, I was thinking the Prime, the streaming. So I didn't know. So when I got my Prime membership originally, I was like a late adopter to Amazon. Then people started telling me, you can get movies with your Prime membership. And that was kind of a big value for me.
Exactly. And it was at that point in time that I said to myself, I think this is where I start buying Amazon. And it has turned out to be great. Again, should you buy Amazon? I mean, I'm a big fan of it, but I don't want you to take this as a stock tip. Please do your own homework.
Well, Steve's not giving advice here. So.
Right. This is not stock advice. This is more like, how do you find these stocks? So, but that's when I said, okay, they're going to charge every one of their people who get into Prime. I think at that time it was like $8 or $9
per month.
Per month.
Because it was like $100 for the year, I think, wasn't it?
Okay, so
I don't even know what it is. I have it on autopilot at this point. I have no idea what I'm paying them.
Well, you probably should know, but now I think it's up a little bit higher than that. But the point is they had millions and millions of customers, and all this was to me was just bottom line money basically going to them. Okay, now of course they had a lot of movies that they had to do and all that, but that's when they really started making money. And of course, Amazon has gone on to be one of the biggest companies in the world, and I think Jeff Bezos is probably now, I think he's rated the richest man in the world, if I'm not mistaken.
I would believe that.
Right. So I think he's passed the Warren Buffetts and the Bill Gates of the world with Amazon. So these are things that you just, you kind of step back and say, what's going on? I mean, here with the COVID crisis, things have changed so much in certain areas. I mean, technology has taken off. And I think that there are changes that are permanent.
Like what?
Well, for instance, doing virtual conferences instead of in person.
Yeah, that was actually that's been really amazing to see how quickly people have adopted to these virtual meetings. Whether it's Zoom or actually, pretty much everybody seems like they're using Zoom.
Yeah, Zoom seemed to be pretty easy to use.
Yeah, user friendly. But Zoom had been around because I was looking into replacing GoToWebinar a while back, and Zoom was around, but they really weren't the big name, and they came out of nowhere with this COVID thing. They really, and now it's almost like Kleenex or Xerox. You do a Zoom call, and then that could mean right. You could be using GoToWebinar, but if I tell somebody let's go do GoToWebinar, they look at me sideways like, what are you talking about?
Exactly.
In the dark ages. Whereas Zoom, everybody knows what that is.
Right. And in the old days, it was aspirin was Bayer aspirin. But that's when you said aspirin. When you say Kleenex, it was the Kleenex brand.
Yeah.
And I still say Kleenex, even if I mean Puffs or whatever else is out there.
Yeah, for sure.
So, but you're right. It's become a generic name. I don't know what you call it, but maybe that's it. Just a generic name for.
Yeah, I don't know.
For virtual meetings.
Yeah, like give me a Coke, right?
Exactly.
And it could be any kind of what is that? Any kind of soda.
Well, and by the way, what we're talking about is another way of looking for companies. When the brand name becomes so strong, Starbucks, let's go to
let's go get a Starbucks.
Right.
It's not even let's go get a coffee.
Right.
Let's go get a Starbucks.
When that brand name becomes so strong, you got to know that company is somehow doing probably the right thing. But again, that's a starting point. Okay. It's not the end point. All right. It's a starting point to go look.
It's like leads, right? It's just like something that's kind of hitting the radar.
Exactly. Yeah. It's exactly right. So so what I also look for is when I talk about disruptions, technological disruptions. I mean, right now, I think that another one of the things that's happening because of COVID, in my opinion, is that people aren't using cash the way they used to.
So what is going on with the coin shortage? What the hell's going on with that?
I'm not really sure.
I stopped using cash a long time ago. Now I run around with Apple Pay. and Venmo. I mean, it's very rare. I have a few people I work with that only take cash, and these are all legal transactions, just so you guys know. But they prefer cash.
All right, we won't talk about the drug issue. Yeah. Only kidding.
But yeah, I've got a few people that I work with that want cash, and I have to make a special trip.
Exactly. I'm not really sure what the coin shortage is. All I know is I heard that there was one, and I'm thinking I've got, these huge jars of coins with pennies and dimes and nickels and quarters. I'm hoping maybe someday these might be worth something more than penny, dime, and nickel and quarter, because each year they seem to be worth less.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I don't know, but the whole concept of not using cash means that we're going to a cashless society, which means that the Visas, the MasterCards, the PayPals, the Venmos, the Apple Pays, all those kind of things, you got to be looking at these things. Again, don't necessarily go out and buy it, okay? But I sure would be looking at it, and do your research on it. But I know in my portfolio, I've got Visa and I've got PayPal, and we've had them now for a while, and they've done great. And I think they'll continue to great. And I think probably if we had to look forward, I would think that the cashless society would cause all those stocks to do great. I mean, we'll see. They've grown really fast, so they may be overvalued right now. I'm not sure, but I think that's, again, you look at what's being disrupted, and so there, societal changes.
Yeah, I hadn't even heard of Venmo until this last year.
Oh, really?
No, I had somebody. I was over there at the coffee cart, and somehow some guy told me about Venmo. He's like, "Yeah, that's how I pay my kids. My kids always need money. I have to Venmo them the money, and so." Even with my kids now, that I pay them in Apple Pay.
Really?
Yeah. Whenever we work out a deal, it's Apple Pay money.
Well, my kids are a lot older. I'm hoping they're going to start paying me something pretty soon. Actually, it's funny. I used Venmo for the first time here probably about a month ago. I had not used it before, so somebody just showed me how to do it and how to get set up and everything. It's really simple.
Yeah, it's super easy.
Yeah. So, and who Venmo is it Google?
I have no idea. I have no clue who Venmo is associated with. I just know that just about everybody that's, swapping money out, it's a Venmo deal.
Right. And then there's Apple Pay, as you say, and
yeah, Apple Pay
others.
is. I see it. I see Apple Pay more with consumer to business. So if I go to Starbucks, if I go to the grocery store, I can use Apple Pay. Person to person is where I see Venmo. If I'm paying for scouts or if I'm paying for, some kind of sports lessons for my kids, I just ask the coach, do you do Venmo? And usually they do, and there we go.
Right. And there's also probably an age thing too. I think if you're probably under 50, maybe under 45, you're more likely to use that, probably under 50. Over 50 or 55, probably not as much. But I'm living proof because I am over 55 by a couple days anyway. And
yeah, you just barely popped over that little hump.
That's right. So I'm getting Social Security Medicare illegally, huh? So anyway, so these are the types of things you look for, everyday stuff. And all the other thing too is you've got to know what it is that you're buying. Okay. Don't listen to someone that says, "Hey, buy this technology company," but you have no idea what it is they do. They make some sort of chip screen deal with double somersault. I don't know, but if you don't really know what they do, I don't know how you'd know if they're doing well or not. Yeah, you can look to see about their sales and their revenue and all that, but how would you really know?
What's a good example of that? What would be, because what's a good example of that? That would be kind of an unusual technology that people are excited about that really is kind of fuzzy.
Well, maybe not anymore because these are things that people really know about now. But I remember in the old days when you're talking about computer chips, I really wasn't sure I knew what a computer chip did, but how did I know if it was good or bad? If I go to Chipotle or I go to McDonald's,
I see. Yeah.
I know if I like it. I know the experience, but I don't know where do those computer chips go. What exactly do they do?
Yeah, unless you're working in that technology and you've got those chips and you see whether which ones are failing or not, or whatever issue they might have. You're in the field. It would be hard to determine. Yeah, this chip's definitely better. Or these are garbage. Or don't get these because these guys are messing them up.
Right, and I think you have to know when things change, so that you can, if you want to get out, you get out before things get really bad. Or vice versa. I mean, if things are going great and you can get in because you understand what's going on and that. So you really need to know and be able to explain to somebody in 30 seconds or less what it is that you're investing in. A good way to do that might be to say that you've got this idea that you've researched, and then you go to maybe a family member or a friend and start talking about it, and they ask you all sorts of questions. If you can't answer the questions, you don't know what it is you've got. If you can answer the questions and it's an intelligent answer, then great. That's what it's about. So just go back to Goosehead Insurance. I knew exactly what they did, and it made total sense to me. All right. So then I just had to make sure that the company itself was sound financially, and then that's the other part of it. And I think we're going to do another podcast that's going to talk about what to actually look for in a company.
I think that would be great. I think it would be nice to be able to at least take some type of view and take a look at some of the, without getting too deep, some of the technical aspects of, some markers, some benchmarks of what are indicators that someone's either in trouble, getting in trouble, or this is not right, and you need to find out why.
Right. Or just being able to determine, is this a good investment or not?
Right.
To be able to go into the balance sheet, into that type of thing.
I think that would be great. I want to see that.
How about, would you like to hear it? Because this is a podcast.
Yeah, I'd like to hear it. I'd like to see it, of course.
So when you're doing a podcast and it's actually being videoed, is it a podvid or a vidpod or something?
Joe Rogan still got his on video on YouTube. Well, I think he's moving to Spotify, but I still see it on YouTube. They still call it a podcast on YouTube. So
right, maybe we can coin a name.
But you can't drive around looking at YouTube. So
not yet.
Well, yeah. True. I mean, there'll be autonomous cars at some point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there's another disruptor. We just, say, okay, there's an autonomous car. There's electric cars. I mean, look what Tesla has done.
Yeah, that has been pretty amazing.
It has been. I've been saying it's been overvalued forever, and I don't know if it is or it isn't.
I'm glad he's going into trucks.
Who, Elon?
Yeah, he's starting to make trucks. I think that's going to be a big deal. Trucks for consumers. I think he's already making, probably shipping trucks.
Well, it seems like every stock in that industry has flown, even if they don't have anything they made. Who is it? Nikola, I think is going to. They haven't made one truck yet, and their stock is going crazy.
Didn't they just get a contract for? I don't know why. I think it's Nikola for. I think a waste management company. I think I just saw that either today or yesterday.
It's certainly.
I gotta confirm this. I could be mixing up my memories just to let everybody know out there.
Yeah, it could be. But my point is that. Again, it's another disruptive industry, and then soon there's going to be driverless cars, and that's coming. That's coming pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's for real. I mean, that is scary to think of, but it's for real. I like the idea that the techie nerd side of me really kind of thinks that's so cool. But I'm scared. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be scared to ride in one of those.
It's funny you say that because I went to, we were in a golf tournament, and I rode with a guy in his Tesla, and he had a few drinks, and he said, no, I'll drive home. And I wasn't really crazy about that. So basically what he did is almost put the Tesla on automatic pilot. He was hardly driving at all. The car would stay in the lane. The car would slow up. It would speed up, and it seemed to work fine. And until I didn't even know he was doing that for a while. Once he told me that, I got nervous.
Yeah, my friend, she had a Tesla, and it had the autopilot. She let me try it out, and it was weird. It made me nervous. It made me really nervous to let go of that wheel and let the car drive.
But it worked, right?
Yeah, it did. And then probably within a month or two, I think somebody got smashed by a truck that was doing that. But I think that's few and far between. I think that autopilot actually works pretty good. It just had gotten some bad press because everybody was worried about it at the time, and they probably want to short Elon. Yeah, no, that's it's coming.
So this is another area where when you're looking at a stock, you got to say, well, what kind of a market is it? Because you could have something you really, really love, but only 3 people are gonna buy it, or you could have something like the electric cars, which it seems like everybody is going toward. I think it's still going to be a while till we're completely electric. Matter of fact, we may never be completely electric. I don't know, but we're going in that direction. And driverless cars, we're absolutely going in that direction. So, those are things that, how many people are going to buy this? Well, I think a ton of people will.
Maybe they just need to start with the driverless golf carts.
I seem to have a driverless golf game.
Yeah, well,
I'm having more trouble with my driver, but that's another story. And that's something interesting too, though. If you talk about golf clubs, talk about how they have changed over the years.
that's funny. So I got into golf. Steve kind of helped me out with that maybe 7 years ago, and the golf clubs that I had were from 1988 or something like that, and this was 7 years ago. They were really old clubs, and I had this driver that's basically the size of a 3-wood now, and the guy giving me lessons, I think it was a different Steve at the time. He says, you might want to consider some new technology, and he shows me the new club, which it seems normal now, but it looked like there was a football attached to the end of this thing.
You know what those reminded me of? The golf clubs, the little plastic things you give toddlers.
Yeah. It looked cartoonish. It looked comedic. I thought, are you kidding me? You got a football attached to your club. Is that going to work?
And has it worked?
Oh my God, it was the best thing I ever did.
Yeah.
I did that, and I invested in some entry level irons. It was night and day. Don't get me wrong, I'm still super high handicap, but it made a big difference for me.
Right. And I remember when Callaway came out with the Big Bertha. That was back probably, 20, 25 years ago. And that was a big deal. And that stock did really well for that period of time. And then it kind of fell off, and golf in general has fallen off a little bit because there's a lot of golf courses that have gone out of business. But the golf clubs keep changing, and it's new technology. Technology is really in the forefront of almost everything that we're doing right now. When I think about the driverless cars, which I get excited about, everything related to that. I'm thinking about, as I'm getting older, there's going to come a time when I don't want to drive. Or even as a young person, if I'm drinking, and I don't want to drive because number one, it's not safe. I don't want to get a ticket. I don't want to lose my license. I would love to have a car that would
just get you home safe.
Yeah, just get me home, whether I own it or rent it or.
Yeah, I think that'll probably, I wonder if it'll be more like a ride share type of autonomous thing where you just, you don't really need, you can maybe pay a fee, and where the closest, level of car that you paid the fee for, like, just shows up and
right.
takes you wherever you need to go.
Well, I'm wondering if that's what is going to happen. That's been bandied about a lot. Yeah. Maybe it's going to be an Uber or Lyft, or maybe it's going to be an Avis or a Hertz or something like that. But I think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. You're like, hey, look, I normally like this level car. You just put me in one of those.
And you don't even have to drive it.
Yeah, just have it show up and get me where I need to go.
Right.
And,
I don't know what that's going to do to the taxi cab business, but.
Well, yeah, I think that business is already getting decimated to some degree. And, Uber's and Lyft and those guys have to navigate the fight against the whatever fight they're having against the unions or whatever for that business that's dying. But it's probably going to be one of those companies, right, that does that.
That's what I would think. Or it could even be the car companies themselves.
Or, true, because it's kind of like when you look back at the internet, right? Remember Netscape?
Oh, yeah.
Netscape was like first to market, and Alta Vista, and really they're not even there anymore, right? The real players came later.
Exactly.
Like Google, Yahoo's barely hanging on. I don't know how it's actually doing, but I don't use Yahoo that much.
Yeah, well, I still have a Yahoo address.
Well, I saved my old email address for spam, but that's it.
I still have a Yahoo address, and every time I put that down, every once in a while somebody says, "You still use Yahoo?" It's like the old AOL stuff.
That dates you. You know where what age group you're in if somebody's got a Yahoo email account.
At least I know I can get a date. Thank you. I don't know what my wife would say about that, but anyway. So just going back and just talking again, just kind of recapping what we're talking about here. There are so many things that if you just start thinking about it, that are changing the world, that are good investments, that are good growth companies. Now, there is a time frame there. So if I'm 85 years old, I may not have the time to see it pan out. Because just like you said, the Netscapes of the world, that was in the 1990s.
Yep.
So here we are 20, 25 years later. So you do have to have some longer time frame with almost any company. And what happens to a lot of people is they give up. Sometimes it's good to give up, but sometimes, that your emotions take, look, with this COVID thing, there were some people that said, just get me out, get me out, get me out. At a time when looking back on it, we should have been saying, get me in, get me in, get me in.
Yeah. Nobody could have predicted this post-COVID or mid-COVID, we'll call it mid-COVID, right? We're in the middle of this thing. We're
Right.
mid-COVID market ride that's been going on. I have no idea how to explain it. You do, but I don't.
Well, again, you have to look at things through a different lens, and just say, okay, what's happening? What did COVID change? And it has changed a lot. And again, we talk about technology a lot. So, if it were me right now, and it is me, looking out and saying, where are the opportunities? I'd be starting with technology. The rest of the stock market will catch up when there's a vaccine and when things are normal. But those won't be the growth companies. Those will be, the banks of the world or the energy companies maybe. That's not where the real growth is. The real growth is in the new technology, in the things that change the way we do things fundamentally. So that's where I would be looking. And there's just a ton of things to look at. And then we'll get into another podcast okay, now I found the company.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, and that maybe we'll do that next on our next podcast.
Yeah, so right now it's about finding the possible opportunities.
Right.
How to keep an eye out, and then once you have a few candidates and you're excited, before you just go, like you said, just go, oh, I'm gonna go buy this. Do some homework,
right,
and do the work.
And to me, that's a lot more fun than buying a stock index. Again, nothing wrong with buying a stock index. Over time it does okay.
That's a different, almost a different mentality. It's a different game.
It's just not as much fun. I think owning a company, I own Tim Cook. He doesn't realize that, but I own him.
It's funny you say that. My daughter likes to go to Starbucks because she's an owner.
Exactly.
She goes, no, I own part of this. Or McDonald's, I own part of this.
That's right.
So yeah, there's something about that.
That's right. So that's what it is. You're an owner. Yep. And would you rather be an owner or a renter? And I always use this little thing that says the difference between owning and renting. When was the last time you had a rental car that you actually took through a car wash? Never. That's renting. If it's your car, you're going to keep it clean. So you want to be an owner. Anyway, this has been great. Jocelyn, really appreciate you being here again. And by the way, he's responsible for setting all up all of the electronics up.
I'm the AV guy that's learning, so I'm probably learning like everybody else here. So this is the fun for me, is that I get to set everything up with the electronics here, but I'm also learning a lot, and that's a lot of fun.
Well, it's funny. I kid him a little bit because every time I see him, it's costing me more money. We have another camera, another light, another microphone.
I wanted an AV cart today, and Steve put the brakes on. He's like, no. You don't need a cart.
All right. Anyway, we really appreciate all of you listening. And again, if you want to get my 5 secrets of successful investing, actually it's called Investing Secrets Every Investor Needs to Know. Just go to www.carlsbad.com/investing secrets. And by the way, if you want to see a little bit more about who we are, go to our website at wwmfinancial.com. And also our sister company, and you can get that by just going to Savvy Up, but it's savvywomen.com.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's savvyup.com, but that's Savvy Women Wealth Management.
Savvy Women Wealth Management, or savvyup.com. So it's great to have you guys with us again, and I can't wait to be here the next time, and we'll talk about what to do with the company after you find it.
That's a great idea.
Take care, everybody.